Daniel stood at the entrance of the luxurious hotel, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The marble floors glistened under the gentle glow of crystal chandeliers, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh flowers. It felt worlds apart from the cramped apartment where he usually lived. Today was meant to be special, a small celebration for a promotion he'd worked tirelessly for. He took a deep breath and approached the front desk. The receptionist, a woman with a warm smile, handed him a key card. "Your room is ready, Mr. Thompson." Daniel was grateful for the brief acknowledgement but felt a shiver of intimidation as he walked through the bustling lobby filled with wealthy guests, each seemingly more important than the last. After reaching his room, a little indulgence felt necessary. He opened the sliding door to his balcony. The view was breathtaking, a panoramic sight of the sparkling ocean waves crashing against the shore. He leaned against the railing, soaking in the moment, but a nagging thought crept into his mind. He had promised himself to indulge today, to shake off the anxiety of everyday life, even if just for a moment. As he prepared for dinner, he accidentally spilled water from the mini fridge all over his shirt. "Just perfect," he muttered to himself, annoyed at his own clumsiness. He looked in the mirror, the fabric visibly sticking to his skin. There was no time to change. He had dinner reservations at one of the best restaurants in town. His stomach twisted with a cocktail of excitement and nerves. Not wanting to show up in wet clothes, he decided to call the hotel service. He asked, trying to maintain his calm demeanor. "Of course, Mr. Thompson, someone will bring it right up," the voice on the other end assured him. He sank into the plush armchair while he waited, tapping his fingers nervously on the armrest. Would anyone notice if he didn't show up at dinner? Deep down, he hoped he wouldn't chicken out. Moments later, there was a gentle knock on the door. Daniel stood up, smoothing his shirt. When he opened it, a tall young man in a sharp uniform stood holding a plush white towel and a small envelope. "Mister," he asked, his voice polite and confident. Daniel nodded, taking the towel. "Thank you," he replied, trying to shake off the strange sense of formality. The valet looked at him expectantly, and Daniel noticed the envelope in his hand. He asked, pointing, "Oh, just a little something from the management." He smiled and handed the envelope over. Daniel's curiosity piqued. Maybe it was a complimentary drink. He opened it quickly and read, "Your car is ready in the valet area." His brow furrowed. What car? Was it a joke? He had not requested any car. Everything felt surreal, almost like a scene from a movie. He leaned against the doorframe, scratching his head. I didn't. Please follow me, sir," the valet interrupted, gesturing for him to step outside. Before he could protest, Daniel found himself being guided through the hotel lobby again, past the shimmering chandeliers, the clinking of glasses, and whispers of laughter. As they stepped out into the crisp evening air, Daniel's heart began to race anew, but this time with excitement. He followed the valet to a pristine line of exotic cars parked neatly under the colorful lights of the hotel. The valet paused beside a sleek black sports car that looked like it belonged on a racetrack. "Here it is, sir," he smiled as he opened the door with an elegant flourish. Daniel stuttered, half in disbelief. Was he really expected to drive this? "It's yours for the evening." Just then, an overhead light reflected off the car and sparkled like a diamond. Daniel could hardly believe what he was hearing. It was too extravagant. This wasn't how he had imagined celebrating his promotion. His mind raced with possibilities. Could he really drive this car? After all the struggles he faced just to reach his current position, this felt like a real moment of triumph. The anticipation bubbled in his chest. Standing outside, the chilly air whispered thoughts of doubt into his mind. What if he made a fool of himself? What if he couldn't handle the powerful speed? Yet a wave of courage surged through him. He thought about all the times he had denied himself happiness, always too scared or too sensible. "All right," he finally said, his voice shaking slightly with nervous energy. As he slid into the leather seats, the smell of luxury enveloped him. The dashboard was filled with shiny buttons and gleaming screens. With a deep breath, he turned the key and felt the engine roar to life beneath him. The valet stepped back, watching with a teasing smile. "Just enjoy the ride." His laughter echoed as Daniel pressed the pedal gently. As the car surged forward, the power thrilled him. Each turn of the wheel stirred an unshakable joy within him. It felt as though he was flying. This was freedom. This was the reward he had chased after through sleepless nights and endless coffee breaks. Daniel zoomed through lush streets, the wind whipping through his hair, laughter bubbling from deep within. He waved at random passers-by, feeling like a celebrity for an evening. What had started with a simple request for a towel had turned into an unexpected adventure. As he drove, memories flooded back. The countless nights spent studying, the anxious moments in boardrooms, and the times he felt like he didn't belong. "Remember this feeling," he told himself. The tension that had clung to him began to fade away, replaced by a rush of adrenaline and pride. After a few more turns, the city began to fade behind him. He found himself on a quiet road bordered by trees. He parked the car beside a small overlook, overlooking the vast ocean, the sun dipping into the horizon. It painted the sky with breathtaking colors, fiery reds, golden yellows, and soft purples. With the engine off, silence enveloped him. Daniel sat in the stillness, absorbing everything, the stunning view, the warm breeze, and the thrill that surged through his veins. Strangely, it felt more than just a celebration of his achievement. It felt like a cleansing of doubt and fear, a burning away of what had held him back for so long. For a moment, he imagined what it would be like to own such a car, to live a life free from limitations. Minutes blurred by as he took in the view, but the thrill of the car soon began to tug at his heart. He didn't want to go back to the hotel yet. The experience needed more time to sink in. Resisting the urge to do what was expected and simply enjoy the moment felt empowering. Eventually, he reluctantly started the car again. He felt a new determination blooming within him. Driving back, instead of feeling anxious about his promotion, he thought about what lay ahead, the responsibilities, the challenges, the heights he could reach. As Daniel returned to the hotel, he parked the car as the valet welcomed him back with an encouraging grin. He asked. It was liberating, Daniel replied, feeling lighter than he had all day. It wasn't just about the car, it was more about embracing every experience life had to offer. The valet beamed, stepping up to take the keys. Daniel turned to walk back inside, ready to embrace the celebration waiting for him. The weight of expectation lifted, replaced by the exhilaration of the moment. He realized that asking for a towel had led him to discover something profound about himself, a willingness to take chances, to embrace luxury, and to revel in the joy of the unexpected. Inside the lobby, friends awaited him at the restaurant. Laughter filled the air again, but this time Daniel felt lighter, fuller. As they raised their glasses to toast his success, he couldn't help but reflect on how a simple request had taken him on a journey of risks, rewards, and rediscovery. And sometimes, in the chaos of everyday life, all it takes is a towel to open the door to something extraordinary. It was a warm summer evening when Daniel stood in front of the upscale hotel, a mix of thrill and nerves tightening his chest. He had just scored a major promotion at work, a dream that had seemed miles away until now. Tonight was supposed to mark a new chapter in his life, a celebration of sorts, but as he entered the grand lobby, he couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't quite belong here. The lobby was alive with laughter and clinking glasses. The polished marble floor gleamed under the ornate chandeliers, illuminating the faces of well-dressed guests. Daniel felt a tug of hesitation as he approached the check-in desk. Everyone looked so. His own casual outfit felt out of place in this world of suits and gowns. After a few moments of awkward small talk with the receptionist, he made his way to his room. Inside, it was just as luxurious: plush carpets, fresh flowers, a breathtaking view of the city skyline. He took a deep breath and stepped onto the balcony. The evening sky, painted in hues of orange and purple, seemed to whisper promises of success and happiness, but just as quickly a sense of unease crept back in. Upon reaching for the minibar, he accidentally knocked over a bottle of water. Cold droplets splashed across his shirt. "Great," he mumbled, glancing critically at his reflection in the mirror. They'd be expecting him at dinner in less than an hour, and this was not the way he wanted to show up. With a sigh, he picked up the phone and dialed the hotel service. Hi. His request felt so mundane in this extravagant setting. Listening to the soft music playing in the background, he couldn't help but feel a bit ridiculous asking for a towel, like he was just another guest blending into the background. "Of course, Mr. Thompson. We'll have that right up," said the cheerful voice on the other end. He thanked her, then sank into the plush chair, heart racing with a mix of anxiety and excitement. But what he didn't expect was the knock on the door just moments later. When he opened it, he was met by a young valet, sharp in a tailored uniform. He held not just a towel, but also a small, elegant envelope. The valet's confident smile was disarming. He handed over the envelope. Daniel asked in surprise, glancing at the envelope, what could be so special about that? While opening it, curiosity bloomed inside him. As he read the note, a rush of disbelief washed over him. "Your luxury car is ready in the valet area." His mouth went dry. A luxury car? He hadn't requested anything like that. The valet's amused grin only deepened. Daniel hesitated, his heart thudding in his chest. A luxury car was the last thing he had imagined for his night of celebration. But the more he thought about it, the more enticing it became. "All right, let's do this," he said, letting a bold determination seep into his voice. As he stepped out into the balmy air, a world of possibility lay ahead. Following the valet into the dimly lit parking area, Daniel's eyes widened. There, lined up in all their glory, were some of the most stunning cars he had ever laid eyes upon, sleek, shining machines that seemed to resonate with power and elegance. "There she is," the valet said, stopping in front of a jet-black sports car that glimmered under the soft lights. He opened the door with a flourish. Daniel stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed. A mix of excitement and fear coursed through him. This was a chance to embrace something extraordinary. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine the journey ahead, speeding down the highway, the wind whipping through his hair, the roaring engine beneath him. He took a breath and slid into the driver's seat, the leather wrapping around him like a hug. Everything felt surreal. He thought, did he deserve this kind of luxury? As if sensing his hesitation, the valet leaned in closer. "Just enjoy it." The encouragement resonated within him. For too long, Daniel had played it safe, always second-guessing himself. Tonight felt like a break from the monotony, a long-awaited step into something more. With one push of a button, the engine roared to life, vibrating through him. Daniel almost couldn't contain the excitement bubbling in his chest. He cautiously pressed the accelerator and the car jolted forward, gliding effortlessly onto the road. He felt like a different person behind the wheel. As he drove through the sprawling streets, the world around him blurred into a wash of lights and colors. Laughing couples strolled by, their joy steeping into the evening air. He wanted to shout, to scream from the rooftops. There was an exhilaration in the freedom moments that he had wished for all during the long hours of work and toil. Each turn brought more adrenaline, more joy, more energy. This extravagant experience was feeding his soul in a way he had never anticipated. But then, just as the thrill began to settle in, a familiar anxiety flared up inside him. His heart raced with fear. A small accident could mean enormous consequences. He remembered a TV show he had watched where a young man had crashed an expensive car and lost everything. The vivid image clouded his mind. He took a moment to clear his thoughts, pulling over to a quiet overlook. There he parked the car and stepped out, feeling the cool night air on his face. The view stretched before him like a painting, stars twinkling above, the city lights flickering below like a sea of dreams. He whispered to himself, staring at the horizon. Too many opportunities had slipped away because he was scared. He had worked so hard for this moment, not just this car, but the very essence of it, the ability to embrace life fully without hesitation. Inside, Daniel felt a boiling surge of determination. He refused to let that anxiety live in his head for another second. Sweeping his hand through his hair, he took a deep breath. "You deserve this," he thought, allowing the realization to wash over him. Resuming his drive, Daniel embraced the power of the car. He began to let go of the reins, navigating the curve of the road with confidence. The engine roared as he pressed the gas pedal, feeling electrified by the speed and thrill that engulfed him. Each mile echoed in his heart, a reminder of his journey past mix-ups and moments of doubt. But tonight, he was more than just a guest in a hotel. He was reclaiming his story, releasing himself from the cage of what-ifs. As Daniel sped through the stillness of the night, he passed through neighborhoods alive with laughter and festivity. With every passing block, he could feel the weight of his worries lift away, replaced by strength and newfound purpose. It was then that he noticed an unexpected calm within him. This night wasn't merely about the car or the promotion. It was about transformation. This was a bold proclamation to himself that he was ready for more, ready to grasp life with two hands. Noticing the time, he reluctantly made his way back to the hotel, where laughter echoed out of the dining room. As he parked the car and handed the keys to the valet, he felt a twinge of sadness. The adventure was coming to an end, but something deep inside him was irrevocably changed. The valet asked, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "More than I could have imagined," Daniel replied, the words resonating through him like music. As he stepped back into the hotel, the ambience enveloped him again, but he held onto that wave of exhilaration tightly. Walking into the dining area, he was met with cheers from his friends, their faces illuminated with celebrations. Someone shouted, glasses clinked, and laughter filled the air, wrapping around him like a warm hug. As he took a seat, the conversation flowed naturally, yet he felt different, lighter, freer. It wasn't just the car, it was the understanding that he could ask for what he wanted and embrace it wholeheartedly. Daniel shared with his friends, his heart racing. The story of the towel and the ride splashed across the table like colorful fireworks, sparking laughter and awe. With each new laugh shared, Daniel felt a connection deepen, both with his friends and with himself. This was more than a celebration of his promotion. It was a reunion with his spirit, a vow to never hold back. As the night waned, surrounded by his supportive friends and rich laughter, Daniel knew the experience would leave a mark on him forever. That seemingly simple moment, a request for a towel, had transformed into a powerful reminder. You never know where life might lead you when you dare to step out of your comfort zone. It was time to embrace every moment fully. With a heart brimming with dreams, Daniel was ready to write the next chapter of his life. And if a luxury car could start it, who knew what else was possible? The open road lay ahead, waiting for stories yet to be lived. The evening air buzzed with energy as Daniel stepped into the luxurious hotel, the entrance framed by grand columns and glittering chandeliers that sparkled like stars. He could feel the weight of anticipation heavy on his shoulders, a mix of excitement for his promotion and the unease of navigating a world far removed from his usual routine. Each step echoed on the marble floor as he took in the lavish decor. Tonight was supposed to mark a new beginning, a celebration of his hard work and what lay ahead. But as he moved through the lobby, he couldn't shake the feeling of being an imposter in this world of polished suits and designer dresses. "Just relax," he whispered to himself. He made his way to the check-in desk, where the receptionist shot him a bright smile. But as she handed him his key, he felt every bit the outsider, thumbs nervously tapping against his pant leg. After dropping his bag in the elegantly furnished room, he glanced at the clock. Dinner reservations were looming closer, but as he tried to freshen up, disaster struck. A single miscalculated motion sent a bottle of water colliding with his crisp white shirt, soaking it through. Panic surged. He grumbled, trying to figure out a plan. With time slipping away, he can't just show up like this. He grabbed the hotel phone and dialed for room service. Even this felt embarrassing, asking for something so simple. "Absolutely, Mr. Thompson, we'll have that right up," the voice chirped on the other end. He hung up, hoping it'd arrive quickly. He took a moment to breathe, feeling the odd pressure of belonging, staying calm, reminding himself that tonight was supposed to be celebratory. But seconds turned into what felt like an eternity. Just as doubt started to creep in, a firm knock echoed through the door. Daniel flung it open, and standing before him was a young valet, sharp in a tailored uniform. "Mister," he asked, his voice smooth and reassuring. In one hand he held a fluffy white towel, in the other he grasped a small envelope. "The towel you requested and a little something from management," he said, presenting the envelope like a prize. Curiosity tugged at Daniel. He asked, reaching out for it. He tore it open and read the neat handwritten note. "Your luxury car is ready for you in the valet area." His heart skipped a beat. A luxury car, this had to be some mix-up. He hadn't requested anything like that. His eyebrows furrowed in confusion, but the valet maintained a friendly grin. "Come on, follow me." Before he could fully process what was happening, Daniel found himself striding through the lobby again, the weight of the envelope heavy in his pocket. The mood of excitement pulsed around him, but now he felt an electric thrill coursing through his veins. They stepped out into the parked lineup of vehicles, an array of shimmering paint jobs and gleaming metals. The valet stopped beside a deep black sports car that seemed to breathe power. "Here she is," he announced proudly. "Me?" Daniel stuttered, half in disbelief. In what world did he get to drive a luxury sports car? The valet's encouraging nod gave Daniel a spark of courage. Just have fun. With a hesitating breath, he climbed into the driver's seat. The leather cocooned him, and the sleek dashboard lit up with an inviting glow. He couldn't shake off the mix of excitement and anxiety. He wondered. He was instantly transported into a world of possibilities. With a quick flick of the wrist, the engine roared to life. The sound reverberated through him, igniting his desire for adventure. He pressed the pedal gently, testing the power beneath him. The car responded with a smooth hum that set his heart racing. "Just don't crash it," he thought, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Each turn felt like liberation, a release from the mundane expectations of his everyday life. He finally pulled onto the open road, merging into a stream of traffic. Skyline twinkled in the distance, a blend of ambition and dreams much like his own. Driving felt like a ritual, each moment steeped in a magic he hadn't anticipated. The night was alive with promises, laughter spilling from nearby rooftops and energy buzzing from every corner. He passed couples sharing sweet moments, families enjoying evenings of joy. Daniel couldn't help but smile. Tonight felt special, like a chapter turning in the story of his life. But then, creaking doubt sneaked back in. The image of a dented bumper flickered through his mind, igniting a fresh wave of anxiety. Daniel pulled over at a quiet overlook where the city spread out beneath him like a twinkling sea of lights. He parked the car, heart pounding as he took a moment to breathe. Standing beside the vehicle, he stared at the horizon, the weight of worries hanging in the air. He murmured, stargazing and reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. Behind him was a life marked by doubt, a tendency to play it safe to avoid taking risks. But tonight that needed to change. Taking a deep breath, he reminded himself that he had fought hard for this moment. "You deserve this, Daniel," he repeated, feeling emotion swell inside him. He realized that this car represented more than luxury, it stood for possibilities. He climbed back inside and turned the engine on once more, ready to embrace every ounce of freedom. With newfound determination, he drove off the overlook and back onto the streets. Each mile was a reclaiming of joy and momentum, pressing against doubt like a wave crashing upon the shore. Daniel began weaving through the city, the car's power pushing him beyond the mundane. Soon he found himself cruising along winding roads that seemed to stretch endlessly ahead. The exhilaration of speed, the fresh night air, and the rush of life all combined into a symphony of excitement. His worries faded into the background as he veered from an impromptu joyride directly into a stream of breathtaking experiences. Every moment felt fluid, connected to a universe full of thrill and potential. But just when it seemed nothing could shatter this magnetic magic, his thoughts turned again to fear. What if I lose control? He pushed those thoughts away, reminding himself that life was meant to be lived boldly. Echoing laughter wove through his mind, memories of friends' dinners, nights spent celebrating small victories. These moments and friendships were vital, but this experience felt like unlocking a new door he didn't even know existed. Eventually, the city lights began to dim in the distance. He found a quiet lane lined with trees, the rhythmic sound of crickets filling the air. Parking the car again, Daniel stepped out once more, absorbing the beauty of the night. The stars shone like diamonds, a brilliant reminder of what lay ahead for him. For the first time, he felt brave enough to explore, to breathe, to be who he was meant to be, and perhaps to let go of the burdens that held him down for too long. It was liberating, standing there, exhilarated and alive. With a smile creeping across his face, he climbed back into the car and turned the engine back on. Decisions began to swirl in his mind. What was next? He wanted more than just this luxury car ride. He wanted to be more than a man overcome by fear. Driving back toward the hotel, he felt the pull of possibility all around him. The world was opening its arms, promising adventure, depth, and courage. He would embrace the unknown, whether in his career or personal life. As he approached the hotel, having fully absorbed the experience, he realized there were still more chapters waiting to be written. Pulling into the valet area one last time, he handed over the keys, each moment larger than the last. The valet asked, a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. "More than I can explain," Daniel replied, fully taking in the sensation of joy, accomplishment, and newfound strength in his voice. It felt as if he was leaving behind an old version of himself, cradling a more vibrant identity. When he stepped back into the hotel, his friends were waiting, smiling, chatting, and excited to celebrate his achievement. As they gathered around, laughter filled the air, and the memories began to come alive once more, moments of connection, of friendship, of shared joy. Daniel started telling the story of the towel in the car, drawing laughter and disbelief from the group. It felt electric, sharing this unexpected twist of fate, the thrills that had been packed into one unforgettable night. Yet deep down, Daniel understood it wasn't merely about the thrill of driving a luxury car or the excitement of a night out. It was about recognizing the obstacles he had faced in pursuing happiness, the choices that led him here, to this moment, surrounded by friends, self-confidence blossoming inside him. The walls that had once confined him began to crumble. He had asked for a towel, but what he received was far more profound, a chance to embrace life fully, to chase dreams without fear, and to sear every moment into the fabric of his being. And so, as the night continued to unfold, Daniel promised himself it was only the beginning. The luxury car had opened his heart to adventure, his spirit to freedom. It was the turning point, the night where he began to truly understand that life was meant to be lived boldly, joyfully. With laughter echoing around him and dreams illuminating his path, Daniel felt triumph ripple through him. The road ahead was wide open, filled with endless possibilities begging to be explored. The journey had only just begun. It all started with a simple request. Daniel stood in the lavish hotel room on the verge of a new chapter in his life. He had just received a promotion he'd worked tirelessly for, and tonight was supposed to be a celebration. But as he glanced in the mirror, he felt an uneasy knot twist in his stomach. In his excitement, he had spilled water all over his crisp shirt, and though he could still hear the laughter drifting from the restaurant below, he knew he couldn't go out looking like this. "Okay, focus," he muttered to himself. He picked up the phone and dialed the front desk. "Hi, He tried to sound casual, but inside he felt ridiculous. Who asks for a towel in such a luxurious place? "Of course, Mr. Thompson. We'll have that sent right up," came the cheerful voice on the other end. He hung up and took a breath, hoping the towel would arrive quickly. He didn't want to miss dinner, a gathering that felt so weighty with promise. Minutes ticked away and anxiety began to bubble up within him. Was he ever going to feel like he belonged here? Just then, a firm knock sounded at the door. His heart jolted. He opened the door to find a young valet standing there, sharp in his tailored uniform, holding not just a towel but also an envelope. "Mister," he smiled, looking both confident and eager. Daniel hesitated, staring at the envelope. "Just a small gesture. Open it when you're ready," the valet said, still beaming. Curiosity overcame him. He thanked the valet and took the towel and the envelope, closing the door and leaning against it. What was this all about? With hesitant fingers, he opened the envelope and read aloud, "Your luxury car is ready for you in the valet area." His stomach flipped. A luxury car? This had to be a mistake. He hadn't requested any car service, let alone a luxury vehicle. But as the invitation sank in, a rush of excitement coursed through him. Maybe this was a sign, an opportunity to step out of his comfort zone. Before he could overthink it, Daniel found himself heading back out of the room. The valet was waiting patiently, a glimmer of encouragement in his eyes. He said, gesturing toward the exit. As they walked through the grand lobby filled with elegant guests and exquisite decor, Daniel felt a blend of thrill and trepidation. This was not just a car, it felt like a gateway to something more, a ticket to freedom from the mundane routine of everyday life. Stepping into the fresh night air, he followed the valet to the parking area, his heart pounding in time with each step. The valet gestured to a sleek black sports car sitting prominently among other vehicles. The way the moonlight kissed its smooth curves made it look almost ethereal. "Here it is, your car for the night," the valet announced proudly. Daniel's mouth went dry. "Absolutely, it's all yours," the valet said, handing him the key with a knowing smile. For a second he thought of backing out. Was he even ready for such an experience? The fear of failure whispered in his ear, but the thrill of possibility drowned it out. He stepped closer to the car, running his fingers along its cool exterior. In that moment, something sparked within him. "All right, let's do this," he said, more confidently than he felt. He hopped behind the wheel, the leather seating wrapping around him like a warm embrace. As he turned the ignition, the engine roared to life. The sound sent chills down his spine, a warrior's call for adventure. Taking a deep breath, Daniel pressed down on the accelerator. The car surged forward, and with each mile he felt exhilaration in a way he hadn't felt in years. The world around him blurred into a tapestry of lights as he navigated the streets with newfound confidence. It was like stepping into a movie. The wind whipped through his hair, and he dared to let out a laugh, the kind of laugh that felt foreign but thrilling. "This is unbelievable," he thought, glancing at the speedometer as it nudged faster. But just as quickly as the joy came, the familiar tendrils of doubt wrapped around him. His heart raced with anxiety. A vivid flash of a reckless accident invaded his mind, a fear that had always held him back in life. He pulled over at a quiet scenic overlook where the stars twinkled brightly against the inky black sky. Parking the car, he stepped out and leaned against it, breathing in the crisp night air. The view before him, a magnificent panorama of the city, all aglow, invigorated him. He whispered to the night, staring out at the horizon. Deep down, he knew he had a tendency to play it safe, to shy away from risk, yet tonight was different. This car had opened up a world that felt exciting and alive. Tonight is about embracing who you are, what you can become, he told himself, letting determination wash over him like a tidal wave. Taking a moment to center himself, he felt a rush of clarity. The fear was only a feeling, a passing shadow in the greater journey of life. Returning to the driver's seat, he felt a surge of adrenaline as he turned the key in the ignition again. This time he drove with purpose, navigating through the streets with a daring spirit. Each turn was a reminder that he could break free from what held him back. As he ventured deeper into the night, the thrill of speed merged with the joy of newfound self-acceptance. Daniel laughed out loud, feeling every bit of joy resonate through him. The car was no longer just a luxury item, it was a vessel of transformation, a reminder of the risks worth taking. He rolled down the window, letting the night air soothe his worries. With each passing block, he felt lighter, freer. The once choking anxiety that had weighed him down began to dissolve, exposing a raw, unfiltered version of himself eager to embrace life. But just as he began to bask in that newfound freedom, a troubling thought emerged. What if someone sees me investing this much into my happiness? He had always cared deeply about what others thought, fearing the whispers that might follow him. Yet this time, something snapped inside him. He challenged himself. With that mantra echoing in his spirit, he pushed the gas pedal further down, feeling the car respond as if it too dared him to break free. The city lights flickered in the distance, a mosaic of dreams and desires. He could feel the energy all around him, and he wanted to soak it in, to capture the moment like an artist preserving a masterpiece. Soon he found himself racing along a picturesque route lined with trees, the branches stretching overhead like welcoming arms. He made split-second decisions, swaying with the curves, laughing at the sensation of living in the moment. Daniel could hardly believe that just hours ago he had felt like an imposter. Now he was alive, untethered from the expectations that had silently held him back. This night was about dismantling the boxes he had carefully crafted around himself, reimagining what was possible. Finally, he pulled over to another scenic spot, parking the car and stepping out again. This time, there was no anxious whisper in his ear, only gratitude filling his heart. The stars blinked down upon him, glittering reminders of infinite possibilities. Standing beneath the vast expanse of the sky, Daniel felt empowered. This is who I am, he thought. Embracing his dreams, big and small, would allow him to step boldly into the future. After a while, though, he gathered himself and returned to the car, ready to head back. As he drove toward the hotel, satisfaction settled over him like a warm blanket. Tonight had transformed him. He had learned to see the beauty in spontaneity, the joy in stepping beyond fear. Pulling into the valet area, he handed over the keys, solidifying the experience in his mind and heart. The valet asked, a knowing smile dancing on his face. "More than I could describe," Daniel replied, confidence spilling over in his words. The valet's eyes shone with encouragement, and he took it in deeply. This evening had given him more than just the thrill of a luxury car. It had ignited a flame within an urgency to grasp life with both hands again. As he stepped back into the hotel lobby, he spotted his friends chatting and laughing around a beautifully set table, their excitement palpable. They turned to him as he approached, welcoming him into their laughter with open arms. One exclaimed. Daniel took a seat among them, recounting the story of how a simple request for a towel had unfolded into an unforgettable night. He animatedly described the exhilaration of driving the luxury car, the wind in his hair, his heart racing with every rev of the engine. As his story unfolded, he could see the reaction on their faces, eyes widening in disbelief, laughter erupting at the absurdity of it all. The spark of his experience illuminated their evening just as much as it had illuminated his life. Yet deep inside, Daniel knew he had gained something more. It wasn't merely about the car or even the promotion. It was about redefining what it meant to live. He had faced his fears, embraced spontaneity, and stepped into the unknown. As laughter echoed around the table, he realized this marked a turning point for him, a commitment to his own happiness, a declaration to break free from the boundaries he had built for himself. It was a promise to chase joy and to dare greatly. With every clink of glasses, every shared laugh, he reaffirmed his journey. He could be bold, he could adventure recklessly and savor the simplest of pleasures. It was his life, his story to tell. As the night continued, the luxury car and the towel faded into the background, but the experience transformed him on a deeper level. Daniel knew he had only just begun to explore what life had in store for him. The road ahead was full of potential, and he was ready to meet it head-on. And now, as he sat surrounded by friends, smiles shared among companions, Daniel felt invigorated. He raised his glass, looking around the table. He toasted, every word brimming with the promise of what was to come. Life was waiting, and with a heart full of dreams, he was just getting started. He stood there, dripping wet and staring down at his soaked shirt, staring at the gnarled bottle of water that had betrayed him. Daniel had just finished a long day at work, a day filled with meetings and deadlines, and this celebratory trip to the luxury hotel was supposed to be a treat, a promotion he had worked hard for. Yet here he was, helplessly fumbling with a towel that somehow had yet to appear. Just perfect, he muttered to himself, anxiety tightening around his chest. He had to look sharp for dinner with his colleagues. It wasn't just a dinner, it was a night that marked his transition into a new role, one filled with promise and opportunity. He reached for the hotel phone, his fingers trembling slightly as he dialed the front desk. The words tumbled out, a bit less composed than he had hoped. "Absolutely, Mr. Thompson, we'll have that right up," came the cheerful voice on the other end. As he placed the receiver down, Daniel felt an odd mix of embarrassment and impatience simmer. That wasn't the luxurious experience he had envisioned, asking for something as trivial as a towel in this glamorous place. Sword fights and car chases played in his mind. Surely he should have had more exciting moments by now. Moments turned into what felt like hours. Every tick of the clock amplified his growing unease. His mind raced through the possibilities. Maybe they were busy with other guests. Or perhaps they'd forgotten about him completely. Finally, just as he was about to give in to frustration, a firm knock echoed through the door. His heart jumped. Rushing to the door, he opened it wide and found a young valet standing there, crisp in his tailored uniform, with a bright smile on his face and a towel in one hand. "Mr." The valet inquired, his voice warm and reassuring. Daniel nodded, momentarily distracted by the unexpected ease of the young man's demeanor. "Here's your towel," the valet said, handing it over. He handed Daniel a small envelope as if it were something rare and valuable. Daniel asked, curiosity piqued. "Just a little something special to enhance your experience," the valet replied, his eyes glinting with anticipation. Feeling intrigued, Daniel tore open the envelope, reading the neatly written note inside. "Your luxury car is ready in the valet area." His heart raced. A luxury car. He hadn't even considered that this could be a part of his stay. This couldn't be right. He looked up, half expecting the valet to break into laughter, revealing he was just kidding. But the young man was still smiling, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. The valet asked. Daniel's impulse was to decline. They walked through the grand lobby, the polished marble floors shimmering under the soft glow of the chandeliers. The environment pulsed with energy, a blend of laughter and chatter enveloping him as they stepped outside. The valet led him to an array of gleaming vehicles lined up under the hotel's archway. But one stood apart from the rest, an immaculate black sports car, headlights glimmering like a predatory beast ready to pounce. "Here it is," the valet announced proudly, gesturing towards the car. Daniel could hardly contain his disbelief. "Me?" His voice wavered between excitement and doubt. The valet replied, his confidence infectious. "It's all yours for the night." The thought flickered in Daniel's mind, an unwelcome intruder. What if he made a fool of himself? "Just enjoy it, you'll be fine," the valet reassured him, pressing the key into his palm. With a deep breath, Daniel slid into the driver's seat, feeling the plush leather cocoon around him. He hesitated for a moment, the key glimmering in the moonlight, but the thrill of the moment was magnetic, tugging at his heartstrings. He turned the ignition and the engine roared to life, a magnificent growl that resonated through him. Daniel's nerves melted away, replaced by a rush of adrenaline. "Okay, let's do this," he whispered to himself. He eased onto the road, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he pressed down on the accelerator, feeling the vehicle surge forward with an exhilarating grace. The city unfolded before him, twinkling lights blurring as he navigated through the streets. It felt surreal, like stepping into a movie where he was the star. With the wind whipping through his hair and the power of the car beneath him, he let out an unrestrained laugh, feeling alive for the first time in ages. But as he drove, doubt peeked back in again, the familiar anxiety gripping him. What if someone sees me? Thoughts of judgment crept in like specters in the night. Daniel abruptly pulled over to a scenic viewpoint overlooking the city. Heart racing, he stepped out of the car and leaned against it, taking a moment to breathe, letting the night air wash over him. The view was breathtaking, lights spread out like stars fallen to earth, reflecting the beauty of possibility. He whispered to the night. Too many moments in his life had been stifled by anxiety, missed opportunities, adventures deferred. This wasn't just a ride, it was a declaration against the fears that had kept him from reaching for more. Standing there, he felt the weight of those fears begin to lift. "I deserve to live freely," he thought, letting the realization wash over him like the cool breeze around him. The night was rich with dreams and potential waiting to be embraced. With renewed determination, he climbed back into the car, turning the engine on again. This time, there was no hesitation. He drove not just to experience the thrill, but to shatter the confines of self-doubt that had bound him for too long. He ventured down winding lanes that twisted through neighborhoods lined with trees, moonlight filtering through the leaves, casting shimmering patterns on the road. Each turn felt liberating, a dance with freedom and joy. As he drove deeper into the night, laughter bubbled out of him, merging with the roar of the engine. "This is what life should feel like," he exclaimed, reveling in the sheer excitement. But old habits die hard. A fear of losing control threatened to pull him back, a haunting reminder of the cautious life he had always lived. But this was his moment. Did he want to walk back into a life of hesitation? The answer was a resounding no. With a bold grin, he pressed the accelerator down, feeling the car respond as if it understood his desire to break free. Time felt distorted. Hours slipped away into an exhilarating blur, filled with speed and adventure. He pursued the thrill, racing into the night, finding delight in the journey rather than worrying about the destination. But as Daniel drove, he couldn't ignore the urge to return. The night had been magical, but he didn't want to let fear stop him from celebrating his promotion. He headed back toward the hotel, adrenaline still pulsing through him like an anthem of freedom. Returning to the valet area, he parked the car and handed the keys back, feeling a sense of accomplishment surge within him. The valet met his gaze, bright eyes glimmering with curiosity. He asked, "More incredible than I ever could have imagined," Daniel replied, a smile blossoming on his face. The experience had transformed him. It wasn't just about the car or the thrill, it was an awakening, a promise to his own spirit. Walking back into the hotel, he was met with the warmth of laughter and chatter from his colleagues gathered around a beautifully set table. One shouted, raising a glass in his direction. Daniel returned the cheers, basking in the camaraderie that filled the air. As they raised their glasses in celebration, he felt the heartwarming embrace of friendship envelop him. This night was not just about a promotion, it was about connection, adventure, and newfound strength. He took a seat among them, sharing tales of his thrilling escapade. With every word, the energy in the room intensified, laughter erupting as they envisioned him behind the wheel of that magnificent car. Someone exclaimed, and they all broke into laughter. As the night wore on, Daniel felt transformed. He no longer just belonged, he was part of something larger. This adventure had reignited something deep within him, a hunger to joyfully embrace life. Days turned into weeks, and the thrill of that night lingered within him. Every time the familiar tug of fear reared its head, he would think back to the adrenaline, the freedom. He had faced his doubts and survived, stronger and more alive. The world felt different now, full of color, adventure, and possibilities. Daniel knew he wasn't just driving a luxury car that evening, he was accelerating toward a future with limitless potential. He took a moment to remember that night, standing at that scenic overlook. He had asked for a towel but received so much more, a chance to live boldly, to push against the boundaries he had placed around himself. "Here's to many more adventures," he would say to himself, and the thrill of possibility would wash over him, echoing the roar of that engine. And so the journey continued, fueled by courage, laughter, and the exhilarating knowledge that life was meant to be experienced, every beautiful moment of it. Daniel was no longer just a passenger, he was the driver of his own destiny, ready to conquer the open road ahead. Daniel stood in the hotel bathroom, staring at his reflection and cursing under his breath. Just minutes before, he had been feeling on top of the world, promoted to a position he had dreamed of for years. But a moment of clumsiness had ruined that moment just as quickly. He had knocked over a bottle of water, drenching his crisp dress shirt. Panic gripped him as he glanced at the clock. He had barely an hour before dinner with his colleagues, and he couldn't possibly show up like this. He muttered to himself. His eyes darted around the bathroom. There had to be a solution. He grabbed the hotel phone, his fingers trembling slightly as he dialed the front desk. The words came out much more meekly than he intended. "Of course, Mr. Thompson, we'll have that right up," the cheerful voice on the other end promised. Daniel hung up, relief washing over him, but the seconds began to tick by, each one echoing ominously in the silence of the room. He sighed, running a frustrated hand through his hair. What was taking so long? This hotel was supposed to be luxurious, and here he stood, a drenched mess. As the minutes passed, anxiety curled around his chest like a snake. He could already picture his colleagues, suited and glamorous, glancing sideways at him in disbelief. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a loud knock broke the silence. His heart raced. He bolted to the door, flinging it open. Standing there was a young valet, impeccably dressed, holding a plush white towel in one hand and a small envelope in the other. "Mr." the valet asked, his smile warm and inviting. Daniel stammered, trying to regain some composure. He reached out to take the towel. "And this is for you," the valet said, handing over the envelope. Daniel asked, glancing at the envelope, curiosity peaking, Just open it when you're ready, the valet replied, still grinning. Feeling an odd sense of excitement, Daniel tore open the envelope. His eyes widened as he read the note inside. Your luxury car is ready for you in the valet area. His heartbeat quickened. A luxury car, this had to be a mistake. He hadn't requested anything like that. Staring at the valet, his mind raced. Was this a joke? But the valet's expression was earnest, a hint of encouragement shining in his eyes. Daniel stuttered, suddenly feeling the weight of expectation. Yes, absolutely, it's yours for the evening, the valet responded with a nod, his confidence infectious. Daniel felt any remnants of his earlier tension evaporate as adrenaline surged through him. Could he really do this? Before he could even fully think it through, he found himself following the valet out into the starry night, excitement bubbling in his chest. As they stepped outside, the world transformed. The grandeur of the hotel faded into the background, and Daniel was drawn to a sleek, shiny black sports car parked amidst a row of gleaming vehicles. Its curves invited him closer, the light reflecting off its polished surface like diamonds sparkling in darkness. Here it is, the valet announced, pausing dramatically. Daniel stood, eyes wide in disbelief. He echoed, glancing between the car and the valet. Absolutely, go ahead, hop in, the valet encouraged. Stepping into the car felt surreal. Daniel slid into the plush leather seat, breathing in that unmistakable smell of luxury. The dashboard was a symphony of buttons and screens, glimmering with possibilities. He briefly glanced back at the valet, feeling the weight of a decision pressing on his shoulders. With a deep breath, Daniel turned the key, and the engine roared to life, a thunderous growl that vibrated through him. His heart raced with exhilaration. This was an entirely different world, and for once he was invited to join it. Okay, let's do this, he whispered to himself, pressing the gas pedal gently as the car surged forward. The power beneath him was intoxicating, and he maneuvered through the streets with growing confidence. At first, he took it slow, the lights of the city glimmering like stars against the dark expanse. But then an electric feeling surged through him. Time felt suspended as he drove, freedom wrapping around him. He turned up the music and let it pulse with the beat of his heart. But just as quickly as that joy rushed in, doubt began creeping back. A familiar, anxious voice echoed in his mind. Daniel shook his head, expelling those thoughts. After all, this night was about celebrating his achievements, stepping into a life he had dreamed of. He dared to allow himself a moment of pure thrill, pressing harder on the gas pedal. The car responded instantly, racing down the boulevard, and Daniel felt alive, but the thrill was fleeting. The winding roads and bright lights began to amplify his fears. He suddenly felt small, lost in the enormity of the night and the responsibility that came with it. Frustrated with himself, he pulled over at a scenic overlook, heart pounding. The view before him was breathtaking, a sprawling city illuminated under a blanket of stars. He stepped out of the car and leaned against it, the cool night air grounding him. The anxiety began to melt away as he focused on the view. He whispered, gazing at the vast horizon. He had worked so hard to earn this moment, yet here he was, shackled by self-doubt. Taking a few deep breaths, he closed his eyes, trying to let go of the burden. This is my moment, he reminded himself. It wasn't just a luxury car. This was an opportunity, a chance to break free from the confines of his own mind. With newfound determination, Daniel climbed back into the car. When he turned the key, he felt the strength surge through him once more. I won't let fear win, he promised himself. As he tore down the streets, the city lights whizzed by in a blur of color. He felt invincible, bursting with confidence and joy. The once familiar anxieties were now shadows in his rearview mirror. The world transformed into a playground of possibility. Each turn was exhilarating, a chance to redefine the narrative. For too long, Daniel had played it safe, letting fear dictate his path. But tonight, he was determined to embrace the unknown, to live boldly. Driving into the night, he couldn't believe how alive he felt. The wind tugged wildly at his hair as he pressed the pedal down, his laughter spilling into the cool air. He shouted to no one in particular, feeling that this was just the beginning. Believing that he was meant for greatness, he relished the vastness of the moment, each passing mile bringing him closer to a future unclouded by fear. He let go of the weight of expectations, embracing the freedom that surged within him. But dusk turned to dawn, and soon the skies began to lighten as he ventured back toward the hotel. With his heart filled with exhilaration, he parked the car and handed the keys back to the valet, eyes aflame with excitement. The valet asked, his smile wide and genuine. Daniel exclaimed, feeling triumphant. He couldn't help but beam as memories of the night flooded back. The brief moments of doubt made all the sweeter by the victories he had embraced. As he stepped back into the hotel, he felt a profound shift within himself. Friends, colleagues, and a sense of community surrounded him. Laughter echoed in every corner, filling the heart of the hotel with warmth. His colleague shouted, raising a glass in his direction. As he recounted his night, detailing the car and the unexpected adventure, they leaned in, captivated. Every twist in the story drew laughter and awe, igniting the energy in the room. It wasn't just about driving a luxury car, it was about the journey, how a simple request had led him to confront his fears, embrace his desires, and realize his worth. Daniel smiled as he savored this realization. The night had transformed him, giving him the courage to embrace what lay ahead. He felt lighter, filled with hope and excitement. He raised his glass, echoing the sentiment that flowed among them. The cheers erupted, and Daniel knew that life would never look the same again. Fear had taught him a lesson, but in the end, it was joy that prevailed. At that moment, surrounded by friends and celebrating anew, Daniel understood he would always have a choice. Life could be a thrilling adventure, a race through the unknown, a luxury experience all on its own. As the night drew on, he felt empowered to chase after the dreams he once thought were impossible. Everything changed when he dared to ask for a towel, a simple request that had opened the door to a world of possibilities. Driving home that night, he couldn't help but smile. The future was wide open, full of potential and promise. And as he entered his world once again, he knew he had already begun his true journey. From now on, he would steer away from fear and accelerate into life, embracing every challenge and opportunity that lay ahead. Daniel stood in front of the ornate hotel, the air thick with excitement and nerves. He was on the brink of a new chapter in his life, having just received a long-awaited promotion at work. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, a chance to revel in his success with colleagues. But as he stepped into the grand lobby with its gleaming marble floors and glittering chandeliers, he felt all that confidence slip away. Just breathe, he told himself, pushing through the feelings of inadequacy that gnawed at him. Sure, he had earned this, but it felt surreal, even intimidating. He approached the front desk, forcing a smile as the receptionist handed him a key card with a friendly wink. "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice warm but slightly distant. "Right, thanks," he replied, fully aware that he was about to slip back into his ordinary life. He made his way to his room. Once inside, he found solace in the luxurious furnishings. The view from the balcony presented sweeping vistas of the city, lit like a galaxy of dreams, but that joy was short-lived. After a few minutes of gathering his thoughts, he glanced over at the minibar, feeling the urge for something refreshing. As he moved to grab a bottle of water, disaster struck. The bottle slipped right from his hands, crashing onto the floor and sending a tidal wave of water across his shirt. He groaned, frustration bubbling within him. Not only did he feel ridiculous, but he also had to prepare for dinner soon. He couldn't walk into that fancy restaurant looking like this. A moment's clumsiness threatened to diminish the entire evening. He took a deep breath and reached for the hotel phone. "I need a towel," he thought. There had to be a simple solution. He dialed the front desk, trying to project confidence. "Hello, absolutely, Mr. Thompson." "We'll have that right up," came the cheerful response. Relieved, he sat back down, but impatience quickly replaced his relief. Minutes dragged by like hours. He wondered, each passing second twisting the knot of tension in his stomach until it felt tight and heavy. Finally, just when he was about to lose hope, he heard a firm knock at the door. His heart raced. He hurried to answer, flinging the door wide open. A young valet stood there, sharply dressed, with a bright, friendly smile on his face. In one hand, he held a plush white towel. In the other, he carried a small envelope. "Mister," he asked, clearly expecting a response. Daniel replied, his voice slightly more enthusiastic than he intended. "Here's your towel," the valet said, handing it over. He extended the envelope. Daniel's curiosity piqued. He questioned. "Just open it when you're ready," the valet replied, his smile unwavering. Feeling intrigued, Daniel took the towel and envelope back inside his room. Once the door was closed, he turned the envelope over in his hands, examining it. Without wasting time, he tore it open and read aloud, "Your luxury car is ready in the valet area." His heart nearly stopped. A luxury car? This must be a mistake. He hadn't arranged anything of the sort. Confusion washed over him, combined with an unfamiliar thrill. Was this some sort of prank? But the valet's demeanor didn't suggest anything of the kind. He looked genuinely excited for Daniel. "Valet asked," his tone encouraging. Before he could think twice, Daniel found himself saying, "Sure." As they walked through the hotel's lavish lobby, a sea of fine suits and elegant dresses, Daniel felt the thrill of possibility coursing through his veins. Would he really get to drive a luxury car? Stepping outside into the fresh night air, they approached a row of gleaming vehicles. But one car stood apart, a sleek black sports car that glimmered under the moonlight, looking like it had just come off a showroom floor. "Here it is," the valet announced with pride, gesturing to the vehicle. His breath caught in his throat. "Me," he stuttered, still in disbelief. "Absolutely, it's yours," the valet confirmed, a glint of mischief in his eyes. The thought of it both excited and terrified him. What if he crashed it? Would he embarrass himself? Yet that desire for adventure pushed him forward. He climbed into the driver's seat, feeling the luxurious leather embrace him like a hug from an old friend. "Come on, Daniel," he muttered to himself as he placed his hands on the steering wheel, feeling the power of the vehicle beneath him. He turned the key and the engine roared to life, a deep growl resonating through the car. Daniel's heart raced, excitement surged through him like electricity. The car felt alive, and so did he. "All right, let's do this," he whispered, taking a deep breath. He pressed down on the accelerator gently, the car smoothly gliding into motion. The thrill was instant. He navigated through the city streets, the lights blinking like stars in the distance. There was something magical about the night, the air crisp, the atmosphere charged with energy. He turned up the music, letting it pulse through him as he surrendered to the rush, feeling as if he could conquer the world. But as the excitement enveloped him, doubt began to creep back in. What if I wrecked this car? A flicker of fear raced through his mind, threatening to darken his moment. He pulled over to a quiet overlook, parking the car and stepping out to take a breath. The view was breathtaking, brilliant city lights sprawling across the landscape, a twinkling sea of dreams. Maybe this is too much, he thought. He whispered to himself, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. It struck him then how much he had lived in the shadows of his own caution, always hesitating, always second-guessing himself. Standing there, gazing at the vastness before him, Daniel decided it was time for a change. This car, this night, was a chance to break free. I deserve to enjoy my life, he declared. With renewed determination, he returned to the car. He couldn't allow that anxiety to rule him any longer. He turned on the engine again, feeling the familiar roar, and grinned. He said, and this time he pressed the gas pedal with more vigor, feeling the car respond to his defiance against fear. As he drove, the thrill intensified. He began to weave through the streets, maneuvering with greater confidence. Each corner felt like a new adventure, each mile an opportunity to discover something exhilarating. With every passing second, he felt the weight of reluctance lift off his shoulders. This was what living was all about. Daniel relished the power of the car, the freedom growing exponentially along with his confidence. The world unfurled before him, full of possibilities. He wanted to experience everything, to savor the moment as if it were fine wine. Lost in the exhilaration of speed and the wild beauty of the night, he let go of all caution, embracing the thrill of the unknown. This is it. He shouted into the night, the sound echoing back to him. Yet soon enough, the shadows of doubt returned. What if someone sees me? He shook his head, face flushed with determination. No more second-guessing. Feeling empowered, he drove deeper into the night, feeling free and alive. The car seemed to embody that spirit, an extension of his desires, a vessel for his dreams. Then, like a spell being cast, the streets began to change. The city lights started to fade behind him, replaced by a darkened path illuminated only by moonlight. He ventured further, unafraid, savoring every moment. Daniel finally reached a serene spot near a hidden lake that shimmered under the moonlight. The silence enveloped him as he parked and stepped out once more, feeling the water's peaceful energy breathe life back into him. He stared out at the reflection of the moon on the still surface, feeling small yet significant. I'm ready for this, he affirmed to himself, taking a moment to appreciate how far he had come. The weight of fear slowly melted away, replaced by resolve. He had faced his anxiety head-on, and now he could see so much more than just his reflection. With a newfound sense of purpose, he returned to the car, ready to finish the night with a flourish. He climbed in and revved the engine. Each rev felt like promise. As he drove back toward the hotel, he drank in the beauty of the world around him, thrilled by the specific magic of the evening. Parking the car back in the valet area, he stepped out with pride. The valet greeted him, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. He asked, a hint of anticipation hanging in the air. Daniel responded, and the truth in those words coursed through him like a powerful current. The car had given him something deeper than pleasure. It had unveiled a new perspective on life. Walking back into the hotel, laughter and joy enveloped him. Friends gathered in celebration, and as they turned to greet him, he felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. One of his colleagues exclaimed, raising a glass. Daniel began recounting the tale of his unexpected adventure, each word enmeshing with the laughter around him. The stories of the car, the moment it roared to life, the reckless joy, it all intertwined with their reactions, creating a beautiful tapestry of celebration. As they shared drinks and stories, Daniel realized that this night wasn't simply about a luxury car. It was a moment of transformation, a lesson about daring to let go of fears and enjoying the journey ahead. Through laughter and stories, he felt a bond strengthen among his friends, an electric energy that celebrated living boldly. Each shared experience linked them closer together, igniting dreams of adventure yet to come. As the night wore on, Daniel felt lighter. He had embraced risks, confronted his fears, and in turn had unlocked a part of himself he barely recognized. It was liberating to feel alive, free from doubt, ready to conquer each new chapter. At that moment, he understood that life was about embracing every opportunity, whether big or small. Asking for a towel led to the thrilling ride of a lifetime, a testament that the universe often has unexpected gifts waiting just around the corner. At the end of the night, as laughter echoed around him and he raised his glass, Daniel made a promise to himself. He vowed to step boldly into his future, fueled by the freedom he discovered that evening. He toasted, feeling the warmth of his friends around him. In that moment, he knew he wasn't just a passenger in life, he was the driver, steering toward exciting and uncharted territories. The future held endless possibilities, and he was ready to embrace it, all one thrilling adventure at a time. Daniel stood in the expansive bathroom of his hotel room, staring at his reflection with growing frustration. He had come to celebrate a promotion, a moment he had dreamed about for what felt like forever. But now here he was, water soaked into his shirt from a clumsy accident with a bottle that slipped right from his fingers. He grimaced at the sight of himself. He muttered, running a hand through his hair. He glanced at the clock. Only an hour until dinner with his colleagues. He had to look sharp. He couldn't walk into that upscale restaurant like this. Taking a deep breath, he reached for the hotel phone. Okay, this is easy, he told himself, trying to shake off the nervous energy. He dialed the front desk, his fingers shaking slightly. Of course, Mr. Thompson. We'll have that right up, the cheerful voice on the other end assured him. Just as he hung up, a wave of anxiety washed over him. What if it took forever? What if he missed dinner entirely because of a stupid towel? Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Daniel paced the room, glancing at the clock and then at his reflection. He thought this was supposed to be a night of celebration, yet all he felt was dread. Finally, a loud knock jolted him from his thoughts. His heart raced as he rushed to the door. He opened it to find a tall valet standing there, crisp in his uniform, holding not just a towel but also a small envelope. "Mister," the valet said with a friendly smile, looking as if he had just stepped out of a fashion magazine. Daniel hesitated for a moment. "Yes, that's me," he replied. "Here's your towel," the valet said, extending it toward Daniel. He handed over the envelope, expecting the best reaction. Daniel accepted the towel with a furrowed brow, glancing down at the envelope. He asked, "Just open it when you're ready," the valet encouraged, his grin widening. Curiosity took over. He tore open the envelope, pulling out a card that read, "Your luxury car is ready for you in the valet area." His heart raced. A luxury car? He hadn't requested a car. Was this a mistake or some sort of prank? The valet, clearly optimistic, was still standing there, waiting for a response. Daniel blurted out, his mind racing. Sweat beaded at his temples and the towel slipped from his fingers, tumbling to the floor. "Absolutely, sir. It's all yours for the evening," the valet replied, his enthusiasm infectious. Daniel looked back at the valet, then at the envelope, then at the towel. Where did the towel fit into all this? But the thrill bubbling inside him was hard to resist. "Okay, let's go check it out," he finally said, his voice laced with excitement. Following the valet through the luxurious lobby, Daniel couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline. The hotel had been impressive, but this was next level. They stepped outside, and as Daniel gazed upon a stunning black sports car shining under the bright lights, disbelief washed over him. This wasn't just any car, this was a dream come true. "Here it is, Mr. Thompson, your ride for the night," the valet announced, pride radiating from him as he gestured toward the vehicle. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. "Me," he repeated, his disbelief palpable. The valet chuckled, handing Daniel the keys with a flourish. No need to worry. Daniel's mind flooded with dread at the thought of damaging this beautiful car. The valet replied, his tone light and encouraging. With a heart full of hope and fear, Daniel climbed into the luxurious leather seat. The smell of new car mixed with adrenaline in the air. He turned the key and the engine roared to life, reverberating through him like thunder. He whispered, eyes wide. Feeling an electric pulse running through his veins, he squeezed the steering wheel, nerves and excitement battling within him. He eased onto the road, tension releasing with every press of the gas pedal. Instantly, the car leaped forward and he felt invincible. The city lights blurred into a vibrant tapestry as he sped down the streets, the leather hugging him like a second skin. He shouted, laughter spilling from his lips as he maneuvered through the glamorous streets filled with life. The hum of the engine was a symphony, a soundtrack to his newfound exhilaration. But soon, doubt began to creep back in like unwelcome shadows. The fear whispered in the back of his mind. Shrugging off those thoughts, he pressed harder on the accelerator, feeling the thrill rise within him. The world around him became a blur of colors and lights. In that moment, he was free driving into the unknown, reveling in his courage. As he drove faster, rushing past crowds, he caught glimpses of people enjoying their evenings. Their laughter trickled through the air, pulling him in. He thought, what was the harm in embracing freedom? Suddenly, at a crosswalk, a group of onlookers turned their heads to watch him zoom by. A few cheered, and he felt a swell of pride flicker within. Daniel shouted, realizing he was not just the timid employee anymore, but a man daring to grasp life by the horns. But fate had other plans. Just ahead, a car abruptly slammed on its brakes, forcing him to swerve. His heart plunged into his stomach as he barely managed to avoid a collision. He steered hard to the right, the tires screeching against the asphalt, and in an instant, the thrill morphed into a chilling horror. He urged himself as adrenaline surged through him. The world seemed to spin as he fought to gain control. This was not what he had envisioned for the night. Finding an open lot nearby, he rushed to park, heart racing. He hopped out of the car, stepping onto solid ground. Breathless, he leaned against the car, letting fear wash over him. How could something that felt so liberating turn into such raw panic? As he stood there, it hit him like a ton of bricks. He had pushed himself too far too fast. Here he was, about to lose it all over a reckless night filled with exhilaration. But then something changed. With the night sky painted above him, looking back at the luxury car as it sat shiny and proud, he felt something stir deep down. He asked himself. That car was not just a pile of metal, it was a symbol of everything he'd craved, a reflection of freedom, adventure, and the risk of living life fully. How often had he let fear dictate his choices? Daniel inhaled deeply and stepped back toward the car, no more second guessing. He had taken the leap, faced his fears, and he wasn't about to let one close call ruin his night. Turning the key in the ignition again, he felt the familiar roar re-energizing him, a profound sense of determination settling in his chest. "Let's finish this," he declared, allowing excitement to fuel his courage. He rolled back onto the streets, taking a different route this time. The winding roads ahead were illuminated by streetlights, guiding him toward hidden corners of the night, and there it was, the exhilarating joy of adventure returned. He pressed down on the accelerator, the engine purring like a beast set free, and he wasn't ready to stop. This was not just about driving a luxury car, it was about living, experiencing every heartbeat and thrill life had to offer. Daniel continued to navigate through the winding back roads when suddenly something bright flickered in the rearview mirror, a police car. The lights flashed and his heart sank. Panic surged through him. What now? Did they see him swerving earlier? Did they know he had nearly lost control? He glanced to the side, seeing that the officer was tailing him, their siren blaring a relentless thrum. His mind raced as he tried to figure out his next move. Should he pull over? Should he run? But deep down, he knew his best option was to comply. With his palms clammy on the steering wheel, he signaled to pull over and finally came to a stop by the side of the road. Daniel exited the car slowly, trying to keep calm. This was it. Everything he had worked for, every chance he had taken, could come crashing down in a moment. As the officer approached, he felt his heart pounding in his chest. The night had taken an unexpected turn, and he braced himself for the impact of consequences that awaited him. "License and registration," the officer said, his voice steady and firm. Daniel fumbled through his pockets, his hands shaking. This can't be the end, not like this, he thought desperately. With everything hanging in the balance, he was left wondering, would this night end in triumph or disaster? What had started as a simple request for a towel was spiraling into a moment that could change his life forever.